Hello and welcome to Technique Tuesday. This is the now world famous video series designed to help you focus on your running technique. We've already talked about the importance of good posture and backward arm drive, and today I'd like to focus on hips. So why are hips so important? Well, if you think about it, your hips join your upper and lower body, the main areas that are creating all that power when you're running. So your hips can contribute massively to an efficient running style. Many are quick to point the finger at your legs or your feet when running injuries arise, but actually it can be caused by something further up the chain. Okay, so there are two things to think about in regards to your hips when running. The first one is to try and think about your pelvis as if it's a bucket full of water, okay? You don't want to tilt it too far forwards, you don't want to tilt it too far back, you don't want to let it swish from side to side because you don't want any of that water spilling. Okay, so you need to focus on a nice stable and level hip in order to prevent something called hip drop, which can often cause your foot to land in a bad kind of position. It can cause you lower back pain and it can cause you pain down the side of your leg. In order to achieve good stability in your hips, you need to think about strengthening your glutes and your core and the muscles that surround the hips so that you can support them and anchor them in place. Okay, so the second thing I want you to focus on is the position of your hips. Many of us, when we get tired, we tend to sit back and sit down into our hips. But if you can visualise rolling your hips forward or pushing your bottom through, you'll be creating some good hip drive that will in turn have a really positive effect on your knee drive. So you can very easily see the impact driving your hips forward has on your knee drive. So if you sit back into your hips, just notice how high your knee can go. If your hips are high and driving forwards, you're pushing that bottom through, your knee can drive a lot higher, which therefore means your running stride is going to be a lot more efficient. So another reason why we can have a tendency to sit back into our hips is because our hip flexors are tight. A lot of runners suffer with tight hip flexors, I'm one of them. It basically happens because they're compensating for other muscles not doing their job properly. So if we're relying solely on our hip flexors to lift our knees up and down when we're running, they're going to get tighter and tighter and tighter, which eventually ends up with our bottom sticking out and we're sitting down into our hips. So what we need to do, we need to mobilise this area, stretch this area to get some more range of movement there. And we need to strengthen our quads and our glutes and our hamstrings to make sure they're doing their job and actually providing a lot more power than our hip flexors can when we run. Okay, so that's it for another Technique Tuesday. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to send them through. My challenge to you for this week is to really think about what your hips are doing on your next run. Are you thrusting them through? Are you keeping them nice and stable? Okay, next week we'll focus on our legs and what they're doing, and I look forward to seeing you then.